All right, what is up, crew? Welcome back into the Side Hustle Network show. Usually we have an every single Tuesday show. We were just live. The wife and I were live last night for our usual time. We actually are popping up with several new guest speakers here on the show for you guys. So I'm pumped to introduce Nathan. How do you pronounce your last name? I was trying to figure this out earlier.
Hirsch.
Hirsch. Okay. It's exactly how it looks.
Right.
Some people, it's like, no, it's actually pronounced Hirsch or some other method. So I'm excited to have this guy on because it's a topic that we've brought up many times before, but we've never had a dedicated full session episode show, whatever you want to call it, for the whole virtual assistant topic. This guy, I'll let him introduce himself and what he does, kind of his backstory in a minute. But he focuses, everything he does is based around virtual assistants, how to properly hire them, how to properly train them, how to make your life as easy as possible as a business owner. So I'm excited. We've been using virtual assistants in our own business for 3 years now, a little bit over 3 years. At one point at our peak, we had a team of about 6 people. I eventually learned that more is not always better. So we went for quality. So now we have 3 like top-notch quality ones that we work with on our own team. So I'm firsthand experience, love virtual assistants. So when I heard about this guy and what he does, I'm like, done. We need him on the show, and let's do this thing. So Nathan, you want to introduce yourself, your backstory? Have you been a seller before? This is actually our first time interacting, so I'm starting from scratch, which I love because I have no backstory, I have no context with this guy. So we actually get to do raw interview and get to pick his brain a little bit here.
Yeah, and I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how we haven't run across.
Yeah, we've been in like the Facebook group interweb space for a while, and we just now happen to cross paths on all this.
Yeah, it's bizarre. But yeah, I mean, I was a seller for 7 years. Going back before that, my parents were teachers and they always wanted me to go to college, get a degree, get a real job. I had all these summer internships, summer jobs. I was working 40, 50 hours a week. I learned a lot, but I hated it. And when I got to college, I just looked at it as a ticking clock. I kind of had a glimpse of what life was like after college, and I wanted no part of it. So I started hustling and buying and selling people's textbooks, competing with my school bookstore. That's what got me into Amazon. I would sell these books to a lot of distributors. One of them was Amazon. And this was 2007, 2008, 2009. So no one really knew what Amazon was. There were no courses, no gurus. They were kind of like this big bookstore that was just getting into selling other products. So I got in at a good time, but I was just selling books, and I created a referral program. Before I knew it, there were lines out my dorm room for people trying to sell me their books, to the point where I got a cease and desist letter from my college telling me to knock it off because I was stealing too much of their bookstore's business.
Oh, man.
So I didn't want to get kicked out of school. My parents were both teachers, so that would not have gone over very well. And I pivoted. I thought it was so cool that Amazon, your account just ran 24/7 and it automatically deposited money in your bank account. Like, all this was new to a 20-year-old kid. And I just had to figure out what to sell besides books. So I started experimenting with outdoor sporting equipment, video games, computers, typical college guy stuff. And I just failed over and over and over, and I couldn't get anything to sell. And I finally came across a deal on baby products, and I came up with this concept of drop shipping before I even knew it was called drop shipping. In my mind, I was like, I have a few grand in my bank account. I don't have anywhere to put all this inventory. What if I built relationships with all these manufacturers? They keep my credit card on file. They make it, they ship it, I sell it, I handle the customer service. And at the time, they didn't know what Amazon or e-commerce was either. So it was kind of I won't say easy sales pitch, but a lot easier than it is now. And those were the relationships I made. So I came across these baby products. I listed them on Amazon, and they started to sell. And I listed more, and they started to sell. And before I knew it, I'm selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of baby products as this 20-year-old single college guy. People thought I was crazy. They thought I was running a scam. They didn't understand Amazon. And I remember meeting with an accountant because my parents told me that I should pay taxes, right? And the first thing he asked me is, when are you going to hire your first person? And I kind of shrugged him off, like, why would I do that? That's money out of my pocket. They're going to steal my ideas. They're going to hurt my business. Pretty standard entrepreneurial stuff. I'm sure you've been through it. And
more than once.
Yeah, we all have those thoughts. So so I ignore him and I'm doing everything myself. I'm answering every email, adjusting every price. There's no Amazon software back then. And I get to my first busy season and I just get destroyed. I'm working 20 hours a day. My social life is gone. My grades plummet. And I work my butt off to keep this Amazon account alive going into January. And when I finally get there, I'm like, oh my God, my accountant was right. I need to hire people right now. So I know nothing about hiring. I post a job on Facebook. This guy in my business law class messages me. He says, I don't know what you do, but I need a job. And I just said, you're hired. I didn't even interview him. And he ends up being this unbelievable hire. He's hardworking. He's smart. He makes my life easier. I eventually make him my business partner. His name's Connor Gilliban. We've been working together for 10 years. So I get super lucky. But there I am as this punk 20-year-old thinking, man, this hiring thing is easy. You post a job on Facebook, someone shows up, you make more money, you get more time back. And I just proceed to make bad hire after bad hire after bad hire, quickly learning that college kids, not very reliable, and no 30-year-old entrepreneur wants to work for a 20-year-old Amazon seller. So I get into the remote hiring world based out of necessity. They were the only people I could get to work and be reliable. And I get pretty good at it. I create some really good hiring processes. It takes time and a lot of trial and a lot of error. But I just get sick of the marketplaces out there, the Upworks, the Fivers. I don't want to post a job and get 100 people and interview them. It just took forever. Mm-hmm. And if something went wrong, they didn't protect me in any way. I just had to kind of start the process all over again. So I kept looking and looking for something faster. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to build it myself. So that's when the idea of FreeUp came about, a platform where all VAs, all freelancers are pre-vetted before they get on. We interview them. Top 1% get on. Clients, business owners, they put in a request. We fill it quickly. You know, you're getting someone we already vetted. They can get started right away. On the back end, 24/7 support in case you have even the smallest issue, you're covered, and a no turnover guarantee. If someone quits, we cover replacement costs and get you a new person right away. So that was the concept of the platform. We spent $5,000 on this really, really crummy software that did very little. VAs and freelancers could clock in, clients could see their freelancer on the other side, and that was it. And we took it to market and we started pitching it to the Amazon community. And we're very fortunate people liked it and we grew it. And we eventually grew it from a $5,000 investment to $1 million in the first year, $5 million in the second, $9 million in the third, $12 million last year. And towards the end of last year, we were acquired by one of our clients, which is a whole nother story. And now that I've helped with that transition, I'm working on my new project, Outsource School, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So that's the short, long version of how I went from a broke college kids to books to baby products to starting FreeUp and now working on Outsource School.
Outstanding, man. So as you guys can see, it's all based around virtual assistants, getting those remote hires, especially those of you. We have a lot of people in our community that they're working out of their house, little apartment. Sometimes they don't want to hire a physical employee to come in and do certain tasks, which when we get into, half of our audience is eBay. So yes, you need someone physical to take your photos and all that stuff if you get to that point. So we're going to focus on the Amazon FBA side because that's what this guy specializes in here. So Nathan's going to dive in, teach you guys all the good things. If you guys have questions along the way, feel free to drop those in the chat below. We'll hit every question that we can. So I guess we start from square one. What is a virtual assistant or a VA? What are some of the common tasks that we as Amazon sellers can outsource for them?
Yeah, and I forgot to mention it. FreeUp was an 8-figure business run by me, my business partner, and 35 VAs in the Philippines. No office, no US employees. That was it. And I mean, a virtual assistant, to me, I divide up hiring into 3 different levels. You've got the followers, the doers, and the experts. So to me, a VA falls under the follower, $5 to $10 an hour, usually non-US. They might have years of experience. So they're working from home, but you're teaching them your systems, your processes. If you don't know how to do it, you can't hire that follower. The doers are more freelancers in that 10 to 30 range, graphic designers, writers, Amazon listers, photographers. You're not teaching a graphic designer how to be a graphic designer, but they're not consulting with you either. They do the same thing 8 hours a day. They're doers. And then you got the experts. They can be higher level freelancers, consultants, coaches, agencies. They're bringing their own systems, their own processes, their own strategy to the table. So if you're taking on Amazon PPC, for example, if you know Amazon PPC, which I've met a lot of people in the Amazon community that do, and they have systems and they have processes, they hire VAs to follow their systems and processes. You don't want to just say, I don't know PPC. you, $5 an hour VA, go run my ads, probably not going to work out too well for you. On the flip side, you could hire the expert that already has a strategy. And same thing with, let's say, creating an Amazon listing. You might hire a graphic designer and an Amazon lister, someone who specializes in it, or you might hire an expert to come up with a strategy, or you might have the systems and processes to do it yourself and hire the follower. So that's kind of how I break up hiring. And if you're someone like me, who's a big system process guy who tries to document everything and turn everything into a process and every problem into a better process, then those VAs come in handy. And that doesn't mean that they're always lower level. We hire team leaders and assistant team leaders and put structures in place, but for the most part, they're followers.
I love that you brought up the point of you can't teach them how to do something if you don't know how to do it yourself, unless you're going to the expert level. I love that you brought that up. I've mentioned that a few times because I've had people that will come on. They're like, Chaz, I want to hire a virtual assistant. Great. What are you going to have them do? Well, I would really love them to do, let's say the most common one is probably online arbitrage. Great. Right. Do you know how to do online arbitrage? Well, not really. You don't know what to teach them, right? Unless you're going to that expert level. So I really love that you brought that up, because it's more so than just knowing, online arbitrage is profitable, but if you have a specific way you do it, that's what you are outsourcing, right? It frees up your time.
This was my personal favorite at FreeUp, and I saw it all the time. I saw it so much that I prepared my customer service reps for this type of client, where they would hire a VA for Amazon, usually arbitrage, and they would just say, go find me profitable products. You have to find me 2 profitable products every hour, or whatever it is. And the VA would come back and they wouldn't have it, or they wouldn't fit the exact specifications. And they'd be like, oh, I'm not paying for that hour. It's like, all right, like that's not really how it works. Like, let's take this a step back. Like, why don't you go do it for an hour, record yourself doing it so the VA can do it, and let's go show them how to find 2 profitable products. Like, that seems reasonable. And then they would come back and be like, oh, we tried it for an hour, we didn't find anything. It's like, okay, you need a system, you need a process, you need to actually be able to figure out how to do it. So unless you have kind of that step-by-step, you're not really ready to hire a VA. And what I like to do is a 90-day rule. Because most entrepreneurs, we just keep adding stuff to our plate and we kind of forget to subtract it, or we don't actually add it in the right way where we learn it. We just kind of keep doing more stuff and then try to delegate it, which doesn't work. So for the first 90 days, you're kind of throwing stuff against the wall. You're seeing what's working, what's not working. To me, that's one of the fun parts of being an entrepreneur in general. By the end of that first month, you have a pretty good idea of what's not working, and you start focusing on what's working and tweaking it. By that second month, maybe you start interviewing some VAs, you hire them, you start training them. Maybe at the beginning of the third month, that third month, you start training them, and with the goal for the end of the month for that to be off your plate. And sometimes it can take 60 days, sometimes it can take 120. I try to keep it in that 90-day range. But if you have kind of that mentality where you only do repetitive tasks for no longer than 90 days, and that's how long it takes you to figure it out and delegate it, you're going to go a lot farther in your business.
That's so funny, because that's exactly what I was telling someone else just a few days ago. You have to get your own process down. And I literally used the 3-month rule for myself. So that's hilarious that you brought that up. I said, it took me about 3 months to learn. For example, we started a prep center. And I'm telling Nathan, you guys all know this here on the show, but Nathan and I, this is our first time communicating about this kind of stuff. Same thing with, it's not a VA, but it's a physical employee here at the prep center. I did the shipments, communicate with the clients, did all the setups 100% by myself for the first 3 months. And we got a lot of product out during those 3 months because I was getting my systems down. I was fine tuning. I was making specific lists on exactly how to do X, Y, and Z. If this problem comes up, there's a list on how to solve it. There should never be a time where an employee or a VA comes in contact with the problem and has to say, well, what do I do now? Right? There should be systems in place for these issues based on what the experience that you went through. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, and you could have gone an alternative route. You could have hired an expert or consultant to come in and try to show you their system, their process, and it could have been better than you have now. It could have been worse than you have now, kind of the risk that you take there. But I mean, I'm assuming a lot of people listening like me are on the frugal business side who like to figure things out, who like to reserve money for different things. So for me, trying to figure it out, there's a lot of benefit. Plus, you kind of master yourself. Like, what happens if you hire a consultant, they set up the whole process? Great. You don't know how to do it. Your team knows how to do it. Your team quits. Something happens. An issue comes up. Your consultant is whatever, sick, quits, changes profession, puts you in a bad situation. So just a lot of things for the audience to think about.
Yeah, 100%. And if you guys are, I'm curious to anyone who's watching here live, and of course this video is going to be up for a while, right? These are recorded here live. But the video is stuck on the channel for years to come. So even if you're watching this after this has been recorded, comment below. Do you currently use a VA? Is my first question. Question number 2, for those of you that do not use a VA, but you've wanted to, what's held you back, right? Sometimes it's just fear. Sometimes it's just having no idea where to start. So I guess that's my first question for you, Nathan, is if somebody is at that point where they know they need some help, where do they even begin, right? Obviously the different websites, there's tons of different websites out there, and kind of get what you pay for when it comes to virtual assistants is what I've learned with the few that we've been through.
Right. And I'm a big fan of Free Up. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm now a client of Free Up, even though I'm not involved anymore, which is a little bit weird. But I truly believe in them. So I recommend going there for VAs in general. But if you think of the hiring process, you've got interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing. And even before you do all of that stuff, you need to figure out how much you can afford and what tasks are going to take off your plate. So if you go to outsourceschool.com/VA calculator, we have a cool calculator to help you figure this out if you can't do it yourself on how much you can actually spend. But you need to know, hey, I can spend $500 a month. I can afford one full-time VA, because the last thing you want to do is go through this entire process, invest time, money, energy into someone and have that and not be able to afford them and have to let them go, or run into something where you're one bad week away from having to terminate people on your staff. You need to know this stuff up front. So step 1 is figure out your budget for hiring. Step 2 is create 2 lists. The first list is everything you do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. And I like to prioritize it from easiest to hardest. I then next to it will put, hey, this takes me 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week. And then I know how much stuff really costs. People who haven't hired before might not, but I'll say, hey, this is a $5 an hour task. This is a $10 an hour task. And feel free to reach out to me on social media if you need help with that, but trying to organize it. And once you have that list, I tend to get rid of the stuff that I hate doing first. That's just kind of at the stage of being an entrepreneur that I'm at. But I think a lot of people go through it from just eliminating those easy tasks first, because it's a good way to get started, especially if you've never hired before. The second list, which is a little bit more difficult, is everything you're not good at. And one of the best activities that my business partner Connor and I did back in the day, when we were kind of stepping on each other's toes, we were figuring out like who should do what, is we just sat outside for an hour on our patio and just said, you're bad at this. And we pretty much just told each other what we were terrible at. And we wrote it all down, and we realized, okay, there's some ways we complement each other. Like, you should be doing this, I should be doing this. But we also had this list of all these tasks that neither of us were good at, but we were doing them every single week. So that's where the doers and the experts come in, tasks that are weaknesses for you or your business partners that you need to turn into strengths quickly. And that first list is really where the VAs come into play. So before you do anything, figure out that budget and at least create that first list of all the things you do on a week-to-week basis.
100%. And I remember a common fear I had too. It took me probably from the time I thought I knew I needed help to the time I hired my first person, it was probably 6 months. So that was way too long. But my fear was, and I think this is a common mindset that some people have, is, okay, if I spend $200 or $300 or $400 or $500 a month on a virtual assistant, this goes the same thing for physical employees now, because we've had the same issue with the prep center. I'm like, crap, if I give our employees more hours, I'm giving away that money. It feels like you're losing that money up front when you have to cut them that paycheck. And that's how it can feel in the beginning. That's the wrong mindset to be in, because the tasks that you are giving them frees up your time to focus on what you are best at and what makes money. So if you paying somebody $500 a month allows you to then go focus on things that makes you $1,000 a month, that's winning. And that's where you should focus on, because it took me 6 months to get over that mindset of, oh, I'm going to lose money. I'd rather, again, the frugal part of the business, we want to conserve as much capital as we can, put it in a product. I get that. But at some point you are going to need help. I tell people all the time, you can hustle your way to 6 figures. Not that difficult to do. If you truly put in the grind, it's not that difficult. But if you want to grow past that 6 figures, that's where you need to start really reaching out and getting some help, whether it's physical employees, virtual assistants. And this kind of ties in too. This kind of goes deeper than just Amazon FBA too. We have a heavy eBay audience as well. Same thing with the eBay side. You guys can hire, whether it's physical employees or virtual assistants for different tasks. It's the exact same methodology too. Like, for example, we had somebody start coming into, this is when we were working out of our garage before we got a warehouse. We worked out of our garage for the first 2 years, like anyone else, building the foundation of this thing. We hired somebody that I had known from high school to come in and start taking photos of all the eBay stuff. So we'd have all the photos on our phones, my wife and I, and then throughout the week, we'd have all these backlog of photos we can just do the listings from. And in the first time I had to pay her, it was like $150. And I'm like, that's $150 I could have went and shopped with. But then I remembered all that time that was saved, not having to take the photos myself. I made way more than $150 in that time that I was spending on doing other things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a business owner, you need to be focused on the sales, the expansion, the marketing, and really figuring out what your core competency is. The average entrepreneur is only good at 1 to 3 things. If you're really good at sourcing products, at least for the first 2 years, you should be focused on becoming even better at that and all of your time on that. If you're good at running campaigns or listing products, whatever it is, and the stuff that you're not even good at, I always use bookkeeping, for example, because I did bookkeeping for years. And not only did it take up a lot of my time, but it didn't make me any revenue, right? And a lot of the time I had to redo the work anyway because I wasn't very good at bookkeeping. So just hiring a bookkeeper not only saved me all that time, but it saved me having to redo it. And I made a lot more money once I delegated it. So at the very least, and the step even before you figure out your budget, is to figure out what are you the best at in your business. Because if you want to maximize your business right now in the short to medium term, you should be doing that as much as possible. And instead of trying to become great at all the things you're bad at, try to become really great at the stuff that you're probably good or better than good at.
100%. So if you guys have questions, comments, drop those in the sidebar here. Seller Lit said, dudes, why are you talking about VA topic if Amazon's not receiving shipments due to the COVID-19? Let's talk some relevant stuff. Couple things. One, this is recorded. This is going to be on the channel far past the 2 weeks that that we're dealing with the whole virus issue right now. And yes, Amazon is shut down, which makes a lot of people's time open up. They're not shipping, so a lot of people have time to sit here and learn. And so I would love for people to take these 2 weeks to go to that point and make this relevant. And Nathan could touch on this too with the current status. If you're watching this exactly when this is live during this 2 week gap, who knows? It might go on 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We don't know at this point. But as of now, the actual relevant part of it is you have 2 weeks. You can still go source. I talked about this on last night's live show. I would love for you guys to go out and build a stockpile of inventory. I don't care which method you use, just get a stockpile of inventory ready. So on April 5th, if that is the day they open the floodgates again, you're ready to ship. You don't wait until April 5th and then start sourcing again. Have that stockpile. We're talking about this because throughout these next 2 weeks, you can start implementing this. You can start paying attention to the tasks that you do each day, write those down, make a system out of it, figure out which ones you're going to delegate out, and then start looking for your first virtual assistant. So throughout this 2 week delay, you can already have your first virtual assistant ready to go throughout these next 2 weeks. So that's how we can twist that and make it relative here.
Yeah, I mean, we could just stop everything and just keep talking about Corona, but
exactly.
To get a little bit of a break here and there as well. And I think this stuff applies. Like, business is going to go on. People listening are going to continue to grow their business at some point. They're going to have to hire, and whether you learn how to hire today, tomorrow, in a month, it's all stuff that helps you the earlier that you do it.
Yeah, 100%. What's up, RV? Caught alive in here. What's up, man? I just realized this is turned way too far up. There we go. Yeah, so let's get into, okay, so step one, you got your VA, got kind of your tasks laid out. Let's get into the training side, right? Because that's a whole nother, I don't know, I haven't been through nearly as many as you have, but I've probably hired and fired at least 15 VAs in the last couple of years for some specific jobs that we had. And it all came down to, I can give them all the exact same training plan based on what we do, because we would record a video, like you said, of us doing the task, whether it's a screenshot or me physically doing something, and then give that to all the people that we hired. Not all of them work out. So do you want to cover kind of what your process is for training somebody? Because that's a whole nother, that's a flip side of this whole thing.
So the key to training is to value your time at the highest possible level, because you can always make more money. You can't get your time back. So for me, and let's take customer service at FreeUp, for example, and we had a 50-page SOP, probably unnecessary for most of you. You guys will probably have 1-2 pages, whatever it is. But for the first week, all they did was read the SOP and ask questions. And we were there to support them. We paid them for their time. At the end of the week, and for you, it could be a few hours, I would quiz them. And if they get 80% of it, I'll teach them that last 20%, no big deal. If they get 30% of it, then I'm probably not going to invest my time into training them. I'm going to pay them for their time. I'm going to be nice and polite and part ways with them and find someone else. And the mistake that people make is they do this one-on-one training right from the beginning, and they invest a week. They invest 2 weeks into someone. And then 2 weeks in, they're like, oh, this VA is not as good as I thought they were going to be, but they've already committed 2 weeks. So do they commit a third week? Do they just start over and lose those 2 weeks and never get it back? You have to value your time at the highest possible level. And the second part of that is building really great SOPs. And I think a lot of people know that the SOP has to have the middle part, which is the steps on how you do it. Step 1, step 2, step 3, ABC, whatever. But people forget about the top and the bottom part. So really good SOPs at the top have information about you, about your business, about the task, and why it's important to your business, giving the VAs the why. What I like to do is I like to talk about past VAs and whether they were good or bad. When I hired a bookkeeper, I had fired the previous 2 bookkeepers. I let them know, hey, I didn't mention their exact names, but I said, hey, I just fired 2 people. This is why. This is what's expected of you. This is what I don't put up with. So before he even got to the steps, he had the idea of why billing and bookkeeping is so important, what the goals are for the business, how he's going to impact the goals, and what I'm looking for in a VA and what I'm not going to put up with. Then he goes with the steps. And then that last part that everyone forgets to do is the important reminders, the do not do list for any reason. Maybe it's, hey, don't email seller performance for any reason without my permission. Don't have that hidden in step 5B. Have that at the bottom as important reminder of stuff that if they did it, it would really impact your business. So if you structure your SOPs like that, it makes it super simple for a VA to go through, to remember, and to know what's important for them before they start the task.
Nice. That's a good question. If I outsource work to a VA, how would that affect my sole proprietorship for taxes or things like workers' compensation, unemployment insurance, etc.? I would imagine that a VA's contractor wouldn't have an effect. Just curious.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, it is absolutely no effect. I can't speak for workers' comp or anything like that. That's more legal than my pay grade. But to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't impact it in any way.
Yep. And I can definitely mimic that too. What I've been told by my CPA, of course, neither of us here are licensed professionals. Take this with a grain of salt, but you always have to consult with your own CPA, figure that out. What I was told is, obviously, when you're using I think the most popular is probably Upwork. Is going to be one of the most popular websites people use for VAs. You treat it just like a 1099 employee, except you're not actually sending a 1099 to somebody internationally, right? So you get to write that off as just a flat business expense for a virtual assistant. And of course, consult with your, I almost said VA, consult with your CPA. It's too many terminologies for that. Consult with your CPA. They can give you the best advice. But yeah, a VA is not going to be somebody that you're typically going to provide benefits and all these different things for. You can give them bonuses and treat them well and all that fun stuff. But yeah, as far as I've been told, you're not going to have to worry too much about that.
Right.
Yeah, thanks. This is not financial advice. Can you put an asterisk on the screen? My CPA is on a learning curve for the e-commerce flipper model. Yeah, a lot of CPAs have no idea, and bookkeepers as well. They have no idea about the whole e-commerce world. So get somebody who is at least familiar with it, and then they can work with you from there.
I give you a big tip. If you go to FreeUp, ask for Mudit, M-U-D-I-T. He's a fantastic, affordable bookkeeper that knows e-commerce really well, that I personally know. And I don't get it. I'm not involved in FreeUp anymore, but just my recommendation.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. Get somebody who's familiar with it, because it's going to save you a lot of headache. All right. Sweet. I'm trying to think. So we got step 1. Step 2 would be like training. Any other?
So step 1 is, there's 4 steps really. The other stuff was kind of before you even get started. You got interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing. we kind of talked about training already. For interviewing, one of the key parts is looking for attitude. Skill, experience is great. Communication, fantastic, very important. But attitude is that one thing you can't teach. You want someone who's hungry, who's not just in it for the money. And the second that someone offers them more money, they're out the door. You want someone who cares about learning and getting better and being a part of something. And if someone doesn't check those boxes, it's going to be very hard for you to turn someone into a caring, passionate person. So that's probably the biggest mistake I see on the interviewing side. Also, don't do interviews via video or voice or like we're doing now. Do it on Slack or Skype. Have a chat with them. See how quickly they respond. Keep it all in writing. Keep it all documented. It's gonna be a lot easier for you later on. For onboarding, people just forget to do it. Let's say that they interview 3 VAs. They want to hire Jane. They want to hire Jane at $5 an hour. They say, Jane, you're hired at $5 an hour. Let's dive into the training. Whereas what we teach is, Jane, I want to offer you $5 an hour. I want to make sure you're good with that. But let's go through everything and make sure we're on the same page before you accept this job. So we call it our SICK method. That's schedule, issues, communication, and culture. So we're going to go through the schedule, make sure that there's nothing that interferes with that. What other clients does she have? What other commitments does she have? Has she worked graveyard shift before? All those things are important. For issues, we go through computer issues. We go through internet issues. We go through power issues. We go through personal issues. How does she handle it? What backups does she have in place? Does she lose internet once a week, once a year? Does she have a backup generator? Does she have a friend's house she can go to? Or if she loses internet, can she not work until it comes back? Those are all things that you need to know up front. For communication, the way that you communicate is going to be different than the way that I do. I use Slack, I use Viber, I use email. I use them differently for each thing. Like I'm not going to Viber someone unless it's urgent. So I want to know that they're going to use my channels and they're going to use them correctly. I don't want them to Viber me at 9 o'clock at night over something not important that they could have just emailed me. So getting on the same page there. And last thing is culture. You want someone who's going to fit in with the rest of your team, that has the same values, that has the same beliefs that you do. And again, at the end of all that, and at any point during it, I want her to back out if it's not a good fit. And I'd much rather that she backs out before we figure out that it's not a good fit 2 months later. And just by spending an extra 15, 20, 25 minutes on that onboarding, making sure you're 100% on the same page with the virtual assistant, you're going to save hours and hours of hassle down the line.
That is so on point too. We do the exact same thing with the prep center. We do the same thing with all the service-based things that we offer. We usually do some type of onboarding call for those clients. It's the exact, like I've had to tell 3 people so far on the phone, numbers worked out for both parties, but we got on the phone and just went over the onboarding stuff, the exact same thing, like the culture, the communication, we use Slack as well. So, certain things were little red flags and we decided, hey, this is not the best fit for you right now. That's something that's going to happen sometimes. And the personality part that you touched on, our number one VA, pretty much my project manager of the entire team, he's at such a level of not caring about the money and he cares so much about the company culture and what we're growing here. He's refused my last 2 raises. That's when you know you have a good one. I'm trying to slip in the bonuses, but yeah, he's refused the last 2 raises. And that's very, very rare that you're going to find somebody on that degree. So don't take advantage of them either. Because I've been in positions too. I'm sure you've been down this road, but it's very easy to have the work done for you in the background so much that you get comfortable with it being done and we can take advantage of it. Right. Or not really take advantage, but not appreciate it as much. And, it becomes white noise like anything else in life. You get comfortable with it. So just really honing in on those ones that are just doing a stellar job without you needing to breathe down the back of their neck. Pay attention to those ones because those become the core people on your entire team.
Yeah, you got to identify A players, and knowing the difference between like an A player, a B player, and a C player is so important. And you're going to get that with experience as you're hiring. And when you find those A players, they are so hard to replace, and replacing them could take 6 months and you don't even know if you're going to get another A player until that you get down the line. So when you do find someone like that, put systems in place to keep them around. What we did at FreeUp was we had our 4 team leaders that started at the beginning. They were rock stars. We had their pay go up as the business grew. So every time we hit a new milestone in terms of build hours in 1 week, their pay went up 50 cents an hour. So by the end of FreeUp, or I guess not the end of FreeUp, by the end of my time at FreeUp, they were making over $20 an hour. Totally worth it. Replacing them would have cost me way more than that. They were rock stars, and they had worked the way up to that together. And when we sold Free Up, we took $500,000 from the sale and gave it to our internal team in the Philippines to make sure that they were taken care of. You have to treat people well, not only when you're working on the business, but also if you end up selling your business along the way. It's going to come back tenfold. You never know when you're going to work with someone in the future, or someone's going to talk to someone that you work with. If people are doing a great job for you, make sure that you treat them well accordingly.
100%. I saw we got Alexis just shouted out. It's her first time making it to a live show. Welcome in. Great question by, I guess we have a couple questions here. Nathan, do you have a YouTube channel?
I sold my YouTube channel.
Okay. So it went with it. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, you can check out the Outsource School YouTube channel is just ramping up now. So you can subscribe to that.
Cool. After this recording is done, all the links to Nathan's stuff is going to be in the description below for you guys. Next one is, can you cover more on finding and utilizing a prep center? That's a different episode that we'll cover as far as prep centers, do's and don'ts, what to look out for. I'm biased since I now operate and own one. You can always message me and we'll get you some info that way. This one is a great question. Shout out to Buy Low Sell Hines, Matt. Follow him on Instagram if you're not. Great content on here. I understand the benefits of a VA, but what's the best way to decide if you need a VA for some parts of your business?
Yeah, so kind of two factors. The budget factor, can you actually afford the VA, which we talked about? But then the systems, do you actually have a system in place? Have you created that system, or are you still figuring it out? Now, if you're a little bit more advanced, and I like to do this because I'm much more of a trial and error type entrepreneur, I'll hire a VA when I'm 50% done figuring out the process, and I'll figure it out with the VA.
Yes.
Now, with that comes, I can't get upset if they work for 10 hours and bill me for 10 hours and we don't figure it out because it takes 25 hours. You have to kind of be okay with that. You have to make sure you hire the right VA, and there's a certain part of failure that you'll always get there. But for the most part, you want to already have the system and process established, unless you're willing to go through the process of figuring it out with the virtual assistant.
It's I don't know where I heard this phrase years ago, but I've always said it in different scenarios. But sometimes you have to jump and build your wings on the way down.
Right.
Sometimes you just don't have it figured out, and you need to bring on another set of eyes and another set of hands to help you figure that out. I laugh because I've been that I lean towards that way more than having all my processes at first and then giving this perfect package over to somebody. Usually it's, hey, I've got the gist of it. Come on board. Let's figure this stuff out together. And I definitely lean towards that.
And the key is I then make them create the SOP and send it to me, and I'll edit it. I'll give feedback and all that. But when you get to the point, like I had 35 VAs at Free Up, I don't want to create every single SOP. I need people to take initiative, create the SOPs. I'm more than happy to proofread them. I'm more than happy to give feedback. They can get feedback from each other. Like that's what you want a team. But when you're hiring your first and second VA, probably makes sense for you to create the SOPs.
Yeah. I love it. All right. If you guys have any last minute questions, drop those over in the chat below. Any subtopics?
Diversification is really, really important. I had a situation where I spent 6 months training someone to do every part of my business, and he quit on me while I was on vacation, and that set me back 6 months. But it was a very important lesson in diversification. And a lot of people, they make some bad hires, they get frustrated, they finally find someone they like, and then they just load that person up with everything, and they don't realize how risky that really makes their business. And the other side of it is, you can't just give up on hiring. There's only one way up. There's very few $5 million a year entrepreneurs that are solo entrepreneurs. It just doesn't exist. And just like you wouldn't market a product for 2 months and be like, oh, didn't work. Marketing's not for me. I'm not going to do marketing anymore. You can't do that with hiring either. If you make some bad hires, you got to focus on what you can control, improving your system, your process, and get better and better at it over time.
Mm-hmm. Clear communication with VAs is key.
Right.
I've had so many that I sent what I thought was a great SOP, a list of tasks to do. I thought I was so great and clear with it. But if you don't lay out crystal clear exactly what you want them to do, they're going to fill in the gaps with what they think is going to work best. And we've had situations where, in the online arbitrage world, we had purchases happen because they were just not good leads based on a keep it chart. And I didn't put in there like read the Keepa chart, look for these key points within the history for the last year, even just down to, if you're talking about that task, it was not just look at the last 90 days, filter down to 1 year of Keepa and research that way. And just because I didn't put that in, I had made some purchases because I'm like, 90 days, this was filtered, great. Horrible product it ended up being because of mine not communicating. So communication and laying out exactly what you need is going to save you a lot of headache.
Right. Exactly.
Got some love here. Mr. Bilo Sell Hines. Awesome info, guys. Genuinely appreciate all the knowledge, trying to take advantage of the situation currently. And VAs are something I'm trying to focus on. Yes. And I've preached this time and time again on last night's show about the whole current situation. Take this time. You can sit here and dwell all you want. Situation is not changing. You have to take control and like what Nathan said, figure out what you can control and focus on that. Take these 2 weeks to learn everything you need to know about the virtual assistant world. Start getting some of those applications in. You can use free up. There's different options that you guys have, and start using these 2 weeks to the best of your ability.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, there's nothing else to do right now, right? You got to figure out what's important for you to learn. And if it's VA, great. I'd love to help, but it might be something else, and figure out what can benefit you in the future, because now you got nothing to do besides master whatever that is.
Mm-hmm. Especially those of us that are looking at a bunch of boxes and packages full of toys where it's like, wow, I can't wait till I can ship that in. Most of us have time on our hands, so use it. Virtual assistants, I'm telling you, they can get you past that barrier, especially for those of you that are hustling on the side. If you've got here's a very common scenario that we deal with here on the channel is we have an audience base that works a full-time job, 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. They have a family, they have kids. They're putting in their side hustle hours are between about 9 p.m. and 2 a.m., right? If you guys are just burnt out and capped out and you're pushing as much time as you physically can, it might be time to look at hiring some help and getting someone on your team that could take some of those tasks off your plate. Simple little things sometimes too, like start with just having them open up cases for reimbursements for damaged products. You guys know when Amazon loses packages or damages products, you can open up cases and oftentimes get refunds for those. So you can have virtual assistants handle a lot of what we call the admin tasks. But again, you have to know what to teach them. So you can't just blindly tell them what to do.
Yeah, completely agree. And I mean, I can't tell you how many people have hired a 5-hour-a-week VA, 10-hour-a-week VA, and it's a game changer. It allows you to spend more time with your family. It allows you to focus on big picture stuff. I know it changed my life and my focus. And I mean, you can create a lifestyle business. You can be like me and try to hustle and build your next empire. But either way, you need reliable people running your business.
Mm-hmm. I love what RV Flipper said here. VAs might be more abundant than ever right now because people are stuck at home. 100%.
This
Absolutely.
is the time to hire A players. I mean, there's never been more A players looking for work right now. That if you're a business that you can afford it, now is the time to snatch them up.
Mm-hmm. And I know some of you, we threw out numbers earlier. Some of you are thinking like, I can't afford $500 a month for VAs. Start with one VA and give them 5 hours a week. And if you're paying them $5 an hour, you're not looking at much as far as expense goes. And that's the other flip side too. Don't forget that this is an expense for your business. So you're not losing the money per se. You can expense that out on your business. Consult with your CPA again, but that's just a little side tip not to forget there.
Right.
Yeah. And you can, Marie said, you can use them for more than just Amazon.
Yeah. I had a client at Free Up that used VAs to manage his fantasy football team back when there were sporting events.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can use them for more than just Amazon. I know plenty of people on the eBay side that they'll take all their photos and just email the photos over to their VA team. Their VAs do all the listing. They do everything else. They'll put everything on sponsored. They'll do all of that. So there's so much more than just the Amazon world. And like Nathan said, I personally know people that do the same thing where that's the first time I've heard about managing a fantasy football league, but I know people that use VAs for their personal life. It's the same concept of having somebody come into your house and do your laundry or clean your house. It's the same concept, but anything that's digital, anytime you touch a keyboard, there's usually someone that can take that task off your hands. Especially in the world of reselling here, a lot of Amazon, eBay sellers here on the channel, you make your money when you are outsourcing. So all the other stuff you're touching computers for can be outsourced to a virtual assistant, as long as you know what type of SOP checklist to write them. But you should be focusing so much more time on the actual sourcing. I just reflect back to the times that our sales have been down the most were the times that I was focusing on the prep center, the YouTube channel, everything else that we do. When I was focusing more time on those things, that's when I wasn't out getting my product. I wasn't able to source as much and our sales went down. The second that I started outsourcing the prep center work, I started outsourcing some of the YouTube stuff. That's when I was able to go out and source and our sales started to climb up. So all the stuff you guys are doing that's not sourcing related, start making those checklists and start asking yourself, can someone else do this for me?
Right. Completely agree.
Awesome. So let me make sure we didn't miss any last minute questions here. All right. I think we hit them all. Sweet. So Nathan's got a pretty sweet setup because a lot of people, again, it comes back to a lot of people know that a VA is very, very good idea. They can even watch this episode, be like, cool, I still don't know what to do with hiring and training and all that stuff. So Nathan can lay out exactly what he's able to set up for you guys.
Yeah, so we're launching a new business called Outsource School. We're going to have programs along with software to help you with virtual assistants. We just launched our first course, available till Friday at half off. So it's $497 instead of $997. It'll be evergreen $997 going forward. And it's called Cracking the VA Code. And it's our exact process that we use to hire a 35-person VA team. You're going to learn our interview process, our onboarding process, our training process, our managing process. You're going to get to see us. We picked 4 random VAs. We put in a request on FreeUp, got 4 random VAs, interview them. You can watch us do it. We walk you through it, what's good, what's bad. Same thing with onboarding, same thing with training. And you can take the course as you go through and hire VA if you want to. So you can watch how to interview the VA. You can email us if you have any questions, and we'll help support you if something pops up. You can watch the onboarding, learn how to onboard them, and so on. And it teaches you everything from how to fire them, how to scale them, how to have team leaders and assistant team leaders, how to put bonuses and raise programs in place, and especially the basics of where to hire from, how to conduct very quick, efficient interviews, stuff like that. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And I know you'll have the link below if people want to check it out.
100%. So I just dropped that link over there inside the live chat. It's also in the description below if you guys are watching the recording. Quick shout out to RV Flipper for the $4.99 super sticker here, super chat. Much appreciated. That'll buy my coffee after we're done with this. As long as they're open, I guess. So you guys know that here on the channel, we don't promote courses hardly ever. I'm not a fan of courses that cover broad general information, which is all completely for free on YouTube. We even have our own little free courses here on the YouTube channel that some people do charge information for. We're not a fan of those, but the ones I am a fan of are the very specific ones that can save you a buttload of time. So yes, you can figure out how to do all this VA stuff yourself. You can go watch all the YouTube videos, listen to all the podcasts, go make your own checklist, trial and error, hire 10 people, fire 10 people, figure it out, or get in on the course. It's already pre-done for you. You can learn the best strategies and save yourself a ton of time. So that's the only time that we will partner with people like Nathan, which I'm super pumped to get into this myself, because even though we've been through the process and learned what we've learned, I can always learn more, especially from people who are doing far better than we are in the business standpoint. So I'm always open for learning myself, but I'm excited to just be able to at least give you guys the opportunity to look into it, because it can save you a lot of time, a lot of headache. Like I said, I've made costly decisions in learning experiences based on the whole VA and learning process, the same way that Nathan has. It's never fun to go through that. So I would highly recommend you guys at least check it out. And Friday is that Friday midnight, or is there a certain cutoff time for the half off?
Yeah, Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time is when we're cutting off.
Cool. So yeah, we'll have all the info, links, descriptions, all that fun stuff. You guys know how this goes. Any parting words for the crew?
Yeah, I mean, reach out to me. I love connecting with other entrepreneurs. If you have any questions about the course, not about the course, about hiring, reach out to me. More than happy to help. And this is just the beginning. Yes, we're going to have courses, but like I said, we're going to be launching a lot of software as well that we think will help you with VAs, regardless of whether you buy our courses. And yeah, we really want to help people. It's kind of, I want to continue to be in the remote hiring community. It's where we've been able to help a lot of people through FreeUp. And while I still recommend going to FreeUp for VAs and freelancers, if you don't know what you're doing, hiring a really good VA only gets you so far, and we want to help bridge the gap there.
That's like going into AutoZone and you can go get the best set of tools possible. But if you open up that hood on the car, you don't know what the hell you're looking at. It's going to be kind of hard to do much. This gives you that full package that you need to learn how to do it the right way.
I agree. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to helping your community, and I'm sure we'll hopefully run into each other again in the future.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we'll definitely have you back on the show, and we'll definitely be connected. So Nathan, thanks for your time. Much appreciated. To the crew, thanks for watching. Peace out. We'll see you guys next time.